Welcome to the Dog in a Pub podcast, where I share thoughts, stories, and conversations about my life and my journey post-suicide attempt.
I'd like to begin with a fact.
So pull up a stool and let's see if we can change the world.
I'd like to begin with a fact.
Hello and welcome to episode 10 of Dog in a Pub. This episode, I talked to one of the owners of the Brick Store Pub in Atlanta, Georgia, one of my favorite bars. Tell you how much I like it. It's a 14-hour drive, and I've been there 11 times. But, I have the opportunity to travel for work, so I take advantage of that. But really good conversation, shared some really good beers, some insights into the industry, and just a really nice guy. So here you go. Oh, and if you're a BrewDog fan like I am, listen to the part of the conversation when he mentions just how much BrewDog paradox he has in his secondary cellar. And if you watch the BrewDog TV show on DrinkTV, the BrewDog crew named the Brick Store Pub the best place to drink beer in Atlanta. It's more of an auditory thing.
Yeah, right. Where there's no video cameras. So this, are you familiar with Stratfendic or not?
Yeah, the name sounds familiar.
Yeah, okay. So it's Belgian. This is a barrel-aged thing they did 2014. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I figured it would be big and boozy. And
Prost.
Cheers. Yeah.
Well, thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. Like I said, I've been here, I think it's 11 times now.
It's funny you know how many times it's been.
Well, I know you have your bartender's from Green Bay.
Kat, yeah.
Yeah, so
of course.
I sat down, she goes, "Oh, you're back."
Is that right? Yeah, that's funny. She's been up there quite a bit lately.
That's yummy.
Right? Yeah, for sure.
That's really tasty. So mostly wanted to, I started just...
Oh, we're already rolling?
Yeah.
Okay, great. We can take it up a notch if you want.
Well, the reason I'm here is to talk about, obviously, we're in your cellar, which is still one of the most impressive things I've seen, looking at the... I saw the BrewDogs in the corner.
Yeah.
So I'll be having one of those later.
Okay. Yeah.
So, without a doubt.
That's a good idea.
Because, I know... I think I've already had 4 or 5 of them on my last trips, and you got 3 left.
Oh, no, there's probably more downstairs, don't worry.
Oh, you know what? You want to make some money. I get some people in Scotland.
Yeah, right.
But I guess what I wanted to ask was, well, at first you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah, of course. My name is Dave Blanchard, and I am one of the original owners and founders of the Brick Store Pub here in Decatur, Georgia, USA.
And you just did 22 years?
Just celebrated 22 back in June 27th was the date.
Nice.
22 years.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah.
So I guess, first of all, why would you open a bar?
Okay.
Because, I know people in the restaurant industry. And then where'd you come up with the idea of doing, what you do with these cellared beers? Because like I said, I know there's a porter here in town that's doing this now.
Yeah.
But how did you come up with this idea and start doing this?
Well, I guess to answer your first question, I went to school at University of Georgia up in Athens and graduated and didn't want to leave Athens because I really liked it and didn't know what I wanted to do, and got a job at a pizza place just so I could just make some money and live up there for a little while. And it was my first restaurant job, and just loved it, fell in love with it. And there was it was pizza and beers, and I was really not all that familiar with beer, other than the cheapest beer you could buy when you're broke and in college.
Yeah.
And so that kind of turned me on. I coincidentally met my 2 business partners there through the same restaurant.
Oh wow!
And there was a place up there called the Globe, which at the time I had never been to Europe, but it was a place that I could only imagine what Europe was like, and the place was great. It was beautiful. It was really artsy. They didn't have any TVs, and the music was always real low, and it was
nice.
A bunch of professors and really interesting people who would work behind the bar. And it just, I was so drawn to it. Really, really changed my life, in all honesty. And got to talk, and my 2 partners and I would go there quite a bit. And we just realized after doing some odd jobs, that this was the industry we wanted to be in, and we felt we had enough experience. Those guys, my other two partners, Tom Moore and Mike Gallagher, they were working restaurants like in high school and all through college and everything. So they had a good 8 or 9 years of restaurant work before I even met them.
I washed dishes for 2 months. That was enough.
That was enough, yeah. That's funny. Washing dishes here is like everyone's favorite job. Everybody loves washing dishes here. But anyway, so we got together and put together a business plan, and we really did take the Globe's model. The biggest thing what the Globe did was they didn't offer. They didn't do pitchers of beer, and they didn't do any major domestic beer.
Oh, nice.
And they didn't have any TVs, and it was really like bizarre. And I remember we were putting together our business plan, and that was like a big part of our business plan was we were going to not have TVs, and we were not going to have.
It's certainly unusual these days.
For sure. Well, truthfully, it's a little more common now. I mean, I remember when we were showing our business plan early on, they were like, "Well, you're not going to have Budweiser, you're not going to have TVs. Do you really think that's a good idea?" Because I mean, it's just. Yeah. That's just what everything was, and we're like, yeah, I think we got something here. What the Globe didn't have was food, and so one of my partners, Tom, was a big kitchen guy for a long time, and we knew we wanted to do food. We honestly didn't think we would do as much food as we do right out of the gate the way we did. If we did, we would have made our kitchen about 5 times bigger than we did. Very small kitchen, but luckily with the property we have, we've been able to expand. Walk-in coolers and storage and all that. So it's been, luckily we've been able to grow with the food business that we have done. So that was back in '97 when we finally got open, and we were sort of known for being the beer place in Atlanta from the time we opened, and really back then Georgia had a 6% cap on beer until 2004. And so you can imagine, and really it wasn't that big of a deal. The American craft beer scene certainly was nothing like it is today.
No.
Back then, beer, at least specialty beer, was definitely more of an import market than domestic. And so we did do we were very much, we were trying to be this kind of a European bar. It wasn't English, it wasn't Irish, but it was definitely pubby.
Yeah.
And our big thing was we're just going to do, pour proper pints, and, it's going to be all about the conversation.
Yep.
And in a very great old building. I know on this podcast you can't see the building, but it's a big brick building with hardwood floors. It was built back in the early 1900s with great old windows.
Yeah, it's a beautiful building.
And so we've done, I think, a pretty good job of restoring the building to I guess what it was like at one point when it was built. And so we operated like that, and again, it was more, we became known as the beer place more for what we didn't offer. The beer we were offering very, doing it the right way, and the right kind of glassware and all that. But really, we really stood out because we weren't doing any kind of domestic beer. We didn't have any. Yeah. I think when we first opened our fallback light beer, I think it was Red Stripe or something. I don't want to say it was Red Stripe. I think we had Harp for a little while too. Okay. So if you came in and ordered, Vorsteiner, I don't know if you know Vorsteiner, it's a German pill. Yep. That was sort of our token light beer. There were, people come in and they ask for, a Miller or a Coors or something. We're like, no, we don't have that, but try this, see what you think. And it was really easy to kind of turn people, like everybody dug it, It was really cool. So part of our job, I think early on, was sort of educating a large portion of,
especially back then, with the craft industry being so young back then, most people didn't experiment. They didn't go, well, what does this taste like? What does that taste like? I mean, when we go out with my friends or with my wife, we're always ordering flights. We're always ordering short pours because it's all about how many flavors can I cram into an evening. Not I'm just going to order like 15 Bud Lights and call it a day. It's no, I want
what does this taste like in that one, and that one, and
Yeah.
that one? So yeah,
And
it's
and obviously there is no end in sight for the amount of flavors that are in beer these days. I mean,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's
almost to the point where it I don't know if it's doing the beer industry good or maybe even hurting a little bit, just because I think a lot of people might just are getting to the point to where beer is intimidating, especially if you come into a place like this.
It can be.
And we've had to take stock in that, and wanting to make sure we are leading the charge on beer, and I like to think Atlanta and beyond.
yeah.
Sorry, let me turn that off.
That's okay.
And making sure we are we do have a list that's balanced, and we do have approachable beers as well as
Yep,
a lot of experimental stuff.
Are we talking about the just how the industry is changing, and is it changing too much?
For the better or worse. So I guess that's where I was headed. And that we have talks all the time with my team here about how do we drive our portion of this big boat of beer, and at least to our constituents that come here. And we've talked just at length about just how much is too much when there's so many breweries we can't even keep up with locals, and every brewery's coming out with 1,000 different things, and what do you do, and how do you? And if I was just an average consumer, I would be like, God, man, just give me a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale and let me be on my way.
Exactly. It's a lot of work these days to try to. I don't know if I don't want to use the word connoisseur, but if you want to stay up on the beer market, it's like all these hazies now. I mean, I had a beer last night in Charlotte. It was as close to orange juice as I can imagine a beer being, both in color and flavor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when did beers start looking like orange juice?
Right.
And it was like 2 or 3 years ago, there was no beer that looked like that. And now everybody's got a hazy. Everybody's got a New England.
Yeah, everybody's got a sour. Everybody's got kettle sours. Everybody's it's right. So it's a weird time. And again, it's everywhere. It's so many breweries, so many beers, and so that's So that's kind of I will say, sort of, I don't know if it's finishing up, but I was telling you about the 6% cap.
Right.
So it was 6%, and we did all kinds of fundraisers and events to raise awareness and to raise money to get that beer cap popped. And finally, after about 5 years, we did it. We had a grassroots organization called Georgians for World Class Beer who visited the Capitol all the time, and we realized all it takes is the right amount of money to pay the right amount of people.
Pretty much, yeah.
We had a really good lobbyist, and it was also everybody's being in the Bible Belt. The Bible Belt here in Georgia. Alcohol is always a very big thing, and because no one was educated, everybody was thinking by eliminating this 6% cap, or at least raising it, that all of a sudden Budweiser beer was going to be 12% alcohol. And it was like, no, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about all this beer that's been brewed for 200 years,
right.
where an arbitrary percentage called 6% was never taken into consideration.
No, they just made beer and it came out
that's right. Whatever
it came out.
That's right. And so, and we, it took a lot of educating, but we took very expensive bottles of, whether it was, Orval or Rochefort or, a lot of the Trappist, and because that was about the only thing we could get our hands on. But we would take it down and, we'd taste them on it. It was like, and, we would taste it. It was like, look, this is an 8% beer.
Right.
Tastes weird, right? And they're like, yeah, but that's really good. And it's like, well, yeah, this little, 11.2 ounce bottle is going to cost you $9 in a package store. It's not like, the kids are going to go spend that kind of money. And we constantly referred to this, we referred to it as gourmet beer. It was the gourmet beer bill.
Yeah, that's a good way to take
it. And again, and we're always comparing it to wine. It was like, well, wine's like this, and this is beer. That's sort of the equivalent. And so and then it was also a revenue bill. We had a lot of people say, because Tennessee, which is right above us, didn't have this law. So we knew people all the time that would just take pilgrimage, a 2-hour drive up to Tennessee and load their cars up.
Yeah.
With beer. So they're buying the beer and they're, probably having lunch or dinner or spending the night and spending all their money there and then coming back here, not buying the beer that was available here. So once all that kind of got explained to the powers that be, it was like, this sort of makes sense. So finally we got that law change, and by doing so, that's when we expanded to this upstairs bar because we needed more room for more beer.
Yep.
And then we operated that for a few years, and then this came along after that. I don't know if you want me to go right into that, or if you got something to add, or questions or anything.
A friend of mine just posted a picture of a friend of hers basement, and he had this is just a guy. He's got 1,200, I think 11 or 1,200 bottles of beer in his basement. Like all of his basement walls, they're one bottle deep.
Yeah,
it's just
the whole thing.
Bottles and bottles and bottles. And I'm like, I've tried to cellar beers.
Yeah.
I'd buy a 4-pack of Santa Claus.
Yeah.
And then
that's a good one to say.
I'd put like 2 in the basement.
Yeah.
And then I'd drink 2. And then I'd go, oh, I've got some more in the basement. I'd drink a third. I'd go, this one I'm going to keep. And then like a month later, I'd go, oh, that's right.
I got that last one down there.
So that's why I truly appreciate this kind of thing.
Sure.
I don't have the patience to put a beer. If I was going to cellar a beer, I'd have to give it to a friend.
Right.
And tell them to hide it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe.
Why just come here?
You could come here. So this came about. We were opening another restaurant, and there was a chef that we had hired but hadn't started work yet, and so Mike and Tom and I invited our chef Eric Ottensmeyer with us to go to Belgium, because this restaurant we were going to open, we kind of wanted it to have some Belgian inspiration. And so we went, and I think we were in Brussels and Bruges and Ghent and Antwerp. We did the whole 4 major cities there in Belgium, and just had a great time. And there's a place in Antwerp called the Culminator, and tiny little place owned by this old couple who's had it for, seems like forever, with just a phone book sized cellar. That's all they do is cellar beer, and sometimes they're open and sometimes they're not. And literally, there's not much more room to sit than in this room right here, which just isn't a big room. And just vintage of Belgian beers back 20 years. Wow. Some even bigger than that. And we sat in there one night for hours and just had one of the most memorable experiences, just doing vertical flights of all these amazing Travis beers and the Dole beers, and it was there. We were like, all right, well, clearly this is the next foray. We had done the brick store, which was we were doing the beer thing where we weren't doing pitchers, and then we got the beer law changed, and we added the Belgian bar, and added all the beers that were now flooding the market that were over 6%. Yep. And that just made, kind of shot us into the stratosphere, because no one else really jumped on this higher alcohol thing. I mean, we were like the only game in town for the longest time. Yeah, when I first started calling, I realized how long you guys have been around. It's like, you guys were really way ahead of the curve. And that's not even bragging. It's just what we were doing. That was our life at the time. And I don't know why it took so many others. I don't know why other people really weren't doing it. It was bizarre. I mean, it was slowly coming on. You mentioned the Porter. They came along, but I think they just turned 10 or so. So that we were well along doing what we were doing, and they were probably the first place to kind of have the same sort of model of a very specialty beer bar. Yep. And then others have come along. But we definitely had a grace period of a number of years where you had to come to the brick store to get something. And now you can go anywhere. Brewery's opening everywhere. You can go to the brewery and drink. You can. Every restaurant now has, where it used to be, you go to a restaurant and maybe you would get, if you were lucky, a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale or an Anchor Steam, Yeah. But more than likely it was probably a Heineken, right? That was sort of the premium beer. Yeah, or a Stella, Yeah, or a Stella or Tall, that's right. But now every restaurant, every beer has made its way into, most places are, I think that's what's causing, look at the panic in SAB and InBev and the big guys. For sure.
And that's why they're buying up every small brewery they can. They're paying over value because they know they can eat them up.
Yeah, right.
And it seems like in many cases they're leaving them alone.
Yeah.
Because they're just trying to regain part of the market. So now I think they're both the blobs trying to eat up all the breweries before the other guy does, so they can maintain the market share.
It is it's hard. For a while there, if you were a part of this business, especially on the brewer side, it was such a small fraternity of breweries that, there was the mentality of, oh man, we're all in this together, and you're making great beer, and we're making great beer, and hey, let's make a beer together and collaborate. And then collaborations became a big thing, and and there was that period of time. I don't know, 5 or 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
And, it still happens for sure. But it's getting to the point where it's like, okay, there's a lot of breweries now who have invested a lot of money, who have backers who would like to see a return. And so this little nice guy, hey, we're just doing this hobby of making beer, and who cares how much we sell, sort of thing. We're just having fun. Those days are not quite what they were.
Yeah,
that's just how it works.
The market certainly is. When you talk about how many, what is it? I think I saw like 6,000 or 7,000 breweries in the United States now. That's an insane number of breweries.
It is.
And I'm pretty happy.
Probably that many in planning.
Yeah, I've been to like 100 or so I'm pretty happy.
That's pretty good.
That's like none.
That really is none.
But it's just interesting to see the. I used to be a real right Hutskebit kind of guy. Mm-hmm. I'm never going to drink a beer with fruit in it because that's not what. But now it's like, as long as it doesn't have hot peppers in it.
Oh, you're not a pepper guy.
I'm Irish. I have no spice tolerance.
Right. So your face gets all red. You and all that.
My wife once made potato soup, but she put too much pepper in it. And I couldn't eat it. But it's sad.
That's a shame.
But
so much for your chef days.
Yeah, but I'm starting to get into coffee flavors now. I don't drink coffee at all. But I'm starting to learn to separate the coffee flavor out of the beer.
Sure.
So I can tolerate the coffee and then think about what the rest of the beer is.
Right.
But if it's too coffee, I just hand it to the missus.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's for you.
Yeah, I mean, we've sort of been around long enough that we remember, the beginning stages of the coffee beers and the whiskey barrel-aged beers, and, everybody sort of, it became a thing for a while. And it still is, but luckily it's gotten way more refined, because there was times where, you would just get, a Belgian quad or an imperial stout that was, left in some whiskey barrel for a while, and I was like, man, is this beer? Is this whiskey? Because there is definitely that fine line between having the notes and then just being completely dominated by whichever spirit it's been
like
resting in.
Back when craft breweries first picked up, you get these super hoppy beers. Mm-hmm. They couldn't make good beer, so they just hopped the crap out of it.
That's right.
And said, we had an IBU of 2,000.
Yeah.
Well, so it didn't matter because you couldn't taste the beer anyhow.
That's right.
And it's nice that you can now drink a really nice hoppy beer without it being a tongue scraper, without it destroying your palate.
That's right.
Because now they understand you can make a good hoppy beer that has complexity and flavor and not just hops.
That's
not
right.
just a one note.
Yeah, you kind of have to make good beer these days.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot of, average to not so good beer. And it does, when you're just like I said, an average beer drinker, and you pick up something, maybe or maybe you don't, but any of us that have been around for a while is like, oh, man, really? That's what you're you're going to go ahead and let that leave your brewery? All right.
I was on the road with my boss, and we went to this place in Michigan City, Indiana, called Shoreline Brewery.
Okay.
And I hadn't been there before, so we got there, and I got a flight, and he orders a Bud Light, and I'm like, "Whoa, John, no, just." I said, "Okay." I told the guy behind the bar, "This is what he ordered. What do you have that's going to shock him the least?"
Right.
And gave him a really mild something. And he drank, and he went, "Oh, this is actually pretty good."
Yeah.
And then, 2 months later, I said, "So have you tried anything else other than your Bud Light?" He goes, "No."
Yeah, poor.
It's like there's so many flavors out there,
it's true. The old life's too short to drink crappy beer.
Yeah, it was a cheap beer and real booze.
Yeah, right.
Two things I try to avoid.
Yeah, that's right.
Spend an extra $1 and get a call. But.
That's right. So anyway, Culminator. That's where we rendezvoused in Antwerp. Started to talk about the little place there. And it was definitely eye-opening. It was definitely our next foray. So I came back from that trip on fire, and I just started buying anything that would hold up. So basically, it was a lot of you definitely don't want to sell anything that's hoppy. So anything definitely higher in alcohol and more malt driven.
Yep.
So Belgian quads and imperial stouts, and obviously any lambic, it's going to do fantastic.
Yeah.
That comprises most of our cellar. Although we've in the last few years, sours obviously do really well.
Yep.
Belgian doubles and triples do well. Strong ales. So that's kind of what comprises most of this. And so we bought a bunch of beers, sat on it for a number of years, and finally this room we're sitting in was our last little bit of real estate that we realized we could. We had bought all this beer, and I was like, all right, we got to start selling it, because some of it, it was 4 or 5 years that we were sitting on stuff, like, oh yeah, we'll sell it eventually, and we're like, all right, it's time, because we, and at the time we didn't know if we were going to sell it all, or if we were going to sell any. So purchasing was a nightmare. We didn't know if we were buying way too much or way too little.
Yeah,
you can imagine. And like early on, I was buying like 12 cases of Chimay Blue because that was like the big thing at the time.
Wow.
And in fact, but I think we've sold just about all of them by now, which is great. So this was when we first opened the brick store, this room was divided in half. If you could imagine, half of it was all of our dry storage, and half of it was our office.
Oh, wow.
And for those of you listening at home, this room is, I think it's about 12 by 12, maybe?
Yeah, it's about 12 square, yeah.
Yeah, it's not big. But we do have, I think we always fluctuate between about 900 and 1,000 different vintage bottles in here.
Right.
And then we purchase and we let them age for a year. And then the next year, each November is when we restock, and we bring up
Note to
things.
self,
In November,
okay.
And it's great because we'll do a big blowout sale of stuff that we may only have a few bottles of left to free up some spots in here, and then and it's a big ordeal. I mean, it's 1,000 beers, and the menus have to be reprinted, and computers have to be updated.
Yeah,
and it's got to be everything has to be in the right place.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all part of it. It's fun. It's part hobby. It's 60% hobby, 40%.
That's what That's what it seems like. I mean, I don't want to call your job a hobby.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you look around and you see what you collect and how you collect and what you do. You only do this because you have a love of beer and you have a love of flavor, and you're like, I can buy this and then I can sell it. Yeah, of course you make money, but then you can share that. Then you can bring it to a place where people can show up who also appreciate those things.
Right.
And that's why I love this place, because it's it's like when you go to a brewery and you drink you get a flight of beers, you taste the beers, and you're like, man, these guys are making beer.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you go to another one and you taste like, this is beer made by guys who love making beer.
And who are really good at it.
There's
definitely different
difference, and that's when first time I walked in here. That's the sense I got was this is a place run by guys who really, really love beer, and they want to share that with everybody.
True. Yeah, I mean that's absolutely true. That's been the way since we opened, and really, what's cool about this room, and I wish anybody listening could see it.
Of course, you
can obviously go on any website and see it these days, but. It was funny when we were designing it. You'd go online and you'd Google beer cellar pics.
Yeah.
And all it was probably your buddy's place. It was Metro racks with beer on it.
Yep.
And then you Google wine cellars, and of course they're beautiful, right?
Yep.
They're tricked out and they're wood, and so I definitely wanted this to be kind of a showcase. And a great friend of ours who's done most of our carpentry work around here spent a good month. I mean, he built the door by hand, and did all these shelves.
Yeah,
we had to figure out we have to have shelves for 750s, and we have to have shelves for smaller bottles, and then
shelves for where the giant bottles
that's right, the big ones. That's right.
Yeah, Oh, they're there, the Magnums.
Yeah, so we.
I don't even know what size that Duvel is.
That's a Methuselah or something like that.
Methuselah?
Yeah, I think they call it.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw that bottle of Dragon's Milk, I'm like, I need to get a bunch of friends here.
You need that. That is the beer for you, my friend.
Yes, I love Dragon's Milk. And, I mean, there's no way I could open that and drink it myself.
No, well,
but
I'd like to. No, I don't think I'd want to see what happens if you did that.
No, it'd be bad.
But yeah, it definitely is a place that there's really nothing. There's not many of these, I don't think, around.
No, like I said, I traveled North America for work, and this is the first place I ever saw that did anything like this. And I was like,
yeah, and it's funny. Sort of the idea was we went back and forth on like a locking mechanism for the store because like we got to figure out a way to lock it. But if we're selling it to the restaurant, we got to have the bartenders or servers be able to quickly come in here and do it. So do we do one of those keypad things or what? And so we just had a slide bolt lock on it. And that's what it's been for the last 7 years since we did it.
If you sat down with a calculator and you did the math on how much beer is in this little room, it's a relatively humbling amount of dollar value in this room.
But we also realized that it's a very, it's really no different than just walking into a package store.
Right.
Like, the way it's set up and, it's I do think it's a lovely space and it feels good and it's quiet and it's just kind of neat to just, you can't necessarily just come in here, which is why we put the window in. But if you seem like you're just into beer, I'll be like, yeah, man, if you guys want to go check out the cellar, feel free. Just close the door behind you and have fun. So we definitely wanted to keep it more of a pedestrian, like, oh, come in and check it out, or hey, just peek through the window and kind of get a glimpse of what we do here, because it is unusual for a place.
Yeah,
sure.
I know a lot of beer geeks. I'll share the pictures of this. One of the times I was here, you let me in, and I took pictures, and I'm like, yeah. And last time I was here, I had one of the BrewDogs posted a picture on one of the BrewDog pages on Facebook, and he's like, how much? I'm like, it's Georgia. I don't think I can buy a bottle and take it with me. It's not. It's not how the state works.
It's not how the state works.
The crazy laws we have in this country.
I know.
State to state, city to city, the beer laws change, and it's just.
Yeah, ours have gotten better. There's still kind of a ways to go.
Most of them seem to get like they're getting better.
Every state has like one of those laws. You're like, what?
Well, it's the whole 3-tier distribution law.
Well,
but that's.
But some states are relaxed. Like if you only brew X amount of beer, up to like 1,000 barrels, you can self-distribute.
Yeah. Okay, that is
true. Which is kind of how I wish it was here. Truthfully, I don't even know how many breweries would even choose to want to self-distribute any amount, just because that's not what they do. Atlanta's a pain in the ass to get around.
Oh, it's a nightmare.
You know what I mean? But it would be cool if they could. Like, Three Taverns, which is our Decatur local brewery that's been around for 6 or 7 years now, they're 0.8 miles away.
Yeah.
And they have to send their beer to the warehouse, which is 11 miles away, and then reship it back here. It would just be great if it's like, man, Brian, I need, a couple kegs of, Night on Pots IPA. Can you, bring them over and I'll write you a check. Yeah,
it'd be great if we could have some reasonable beer laws. I put it up to with how you buy cars. You can't buy a car directly from the manufacturer. You have to go through a dealer.
That's true.
But
I bet you I bet you those guys wouldn't want to be. They wouldn't want to be in that part of the business either.
And it's just the same with beer. You make your beer, you sell to a distributor.
That's right.
And then if you want a bar, you got to buy it back from the distributor.
Yeah.
Even though you make it in the brewery that's behind your bar.
Yeah.
And it's just. I'll
maybe edit that. Yeah.
But it seems like it's getting better overall. The beer laws. It'd be nice if there was a more uniform way to do it, but.
Yeah, whatever. That's all.
It is what it is, and you just
taxes and money. It's money.
I mean, there's a guy known in Wisconsin, Dave's Brew Farm. He makes a beer called Matacabras, which is just
huge.
It's a stellar beer.
Yeah,
I just love it. And you used to be able to buy it in the store. Well, he got tired of. I haven't asked him yet, but I think he just got tired of the whole distribution thing, and the only place to get it now is
at the
you got to
brewery.
go to his bar. And it's a farm on his house, and should be bottling a batch right about now, and I told him to put some aside for me because I thought it went away. I didn't realize that.
Oh, you could only get it there.
Yeah, and I didn't realize you could get it at all. I thought he was done with it. And then all of a sudden I saw on Facebook that he was making it. So I'm like, Dave, you're 3.5 hours away. I can't get there this weekend. What can I do? How much do I have to pay you?
Oh, that's a good story.
But yeah, I mean, it's just. But yeah, thanks for this. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
It's good to talk to you, find out a little bit more about how this came about.
Yeah.
I know I've told pretty much all my friends about this place.
Thanks.
My daughter was here earlier this week, and I think they came. I think they were going to give...
Maybe. Wait. I wonder if
She was a redhead, curly hair, glasses.
How old?
How old is Audrey? 21, 22, 23?
You better get this right. She's listening. Or is she?
She was born in 95. 24.
Okay. Yeah.
So...
24. That's right.
She's like, what's that bar? Do they do flights? I said, I think they do, but I can't be sure. I don't remember because when I go,
flights. Yeah, we finally got, because of all the breweries that are opening with the shortboard and Untapped, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Of course. It's all about ticking. So we I guess maybe it's been a year now. We've gone to the little 6-ounce pours for that. Almost for that reason entirely.
And I appreciate that because, like I said, I don't go out to drink. I don't go out to get drunk.
Yeah.
I go out because I want
taste. Yeah.
A lot of taste. Now, granted, a place like this, that's why I Uber.
Right.
But,
right.
You have 5 or 6-ounce pours that are all 10% or 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, those catch up pretty fast.
That's true. It has helped because, for the longest time, we would just give people taste all the time, which we still do on occasion, but now that has dropped so much just because it's like, I'll just get a 6-ounce.
Yeah, get a 6-ounce pour.
There's nothing to it. So it's great. We're not giving beer away, and people can drink more. Have, like you're saying, more flavors than just unless you're just wanting to sit up and have a session with your favorite English ESB and have 5 or 6 at the pub with your mates.
Yeah, I can't do that. I've gone out with friends who they'll put like 4 or 5 pints away, and I'm like, I've had like 2.
Yeah, but that's the difference between those dudes drinking 4.5% bitters and you drinking 10%.
Very true. Very true.
Imperial stouts. So I could.
Well, yeah, beer is easy to talk about.
Yeah, it really is.
But so it's brickstolepub.com.
Yep.
I know you're pretty active on Instagram. I know whoever runs the Instagram.
We're always trying to do better in all those areas. We're 3 50-year-olds, so we keep up with it. But it's not
50-year-old's not bad.
Yeah. So we depend on our kids to keep the place cool.
Yeah.
Or dope, I reckon, is what you call it these days.
Okay. Well, thanks, Dave.
Doug, thank you for coming.
Appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
Cheers.
It was a pleasure. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Doug in a Pub. Make your way down to Atlanta and check out the Brickstore Pub. Just a great place, especially if you like Belgian beers or cellared beers. It's just stellar. Coming up, I'm going to talk about, I've been asked to kind of go into why depression is a liar and what the meaning of that phrase is a little bit. I have another interview coming up that I need to finish editing with Jessica from Giant Jones Brewing. Next episode, I think I'll talk to, I might bring Brett back in to see what kind of things we can talk about. Again, ask questions. If you want to be a guest, let me know. I can bring you in from anywhere on the planet. So Doug at DougInAPub.com is my email address. You can find the website at DougInAPub.com or in Facebook or pretty much anywhere at Doug in a Pub. Thanks a lot. Keep loving each other. Let's see if we can make this world a little bit better. Thanks. Bye.